Hello, fellow kinda critics. Today we got a double feature: Slenderman and Black Klansman with a K. Let's start with Slenderman, Ryan. I know you didn't. You decided to pick the better movie of these two.
Most definitely.
And then I should have chose the Meg, but unfortunately I decided I wanted to torture myself. So I'm not gonna lie to you, Ryan. If I and I'm not trying to be offensive, this is after all a family channel, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know. We cuss a lot.
Yeah. So when I say this in a respectful way to the people who probably had to deal with this coming out in theaters, and also had this happen in their town. The Slenderman murders of 2014. But I would have rather somebody stab me to death and leave me to die in a forest over an imaginary boogeyman than deal with watching this movie a second time alone.
That painful, huh?
It was, oh my god. This is the best movie to watch if you want to know what not to do in a horror movie. This was ridiculous. So the way this story goes, we got four friends. Ren, Haley, Chloe, and Katie. I don't ask me which one's which. I don't remember anybody's name. And I'm gonna tell you right now, best part of this movie, like legitimately, positively, I was walking in this movie expecting something interesting. After all, Slenderman. I had a big it was a big deal, but before this, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he was a big deal. Everyone talking about it, like he was like some boogeyman, internet boogeyman. Story. The story about him was started as a creepypasta. This and that. I'm fine with that.
He honestly just sounds like a tall white guy.
Tall, faceless white guy who has tentacles coming out of his back. I don't know, Ryan. Make your pick. I don't think race is the equation here. Definitely not a metaphor for these things. But what I'm saying is like, it was interesting. The lore was interesting. If you watch, YouTube videos about Slenderman, they can be pretty creepy, especially, And I figured, they have so much material to work with. So the first 5 minutes, perfectly fine. Introduce all the characters. I was actually, I was really grown. I was really expecting these characters to be annoying and horrible. But the first 5 minutes, they were manageable. They were awkward, like middle school to high school students. Again, I wasn't paying attention. And the town that they were in, whoever did the cinematography, it's absolutely beautiful. It kind of highlights how, it kind of looked like a mini Plainfield. I'm not gonna lie to you, Ryan. You got these like small, one bedroom apartments, and then we have like these even smaller, like these they're like these houses near forest areas. When you drive down there, you see like a cabin in the middle of the, in the middle of the road.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was nice, and then the rest of the movie just teeters out into this garbage. It's just so bad. Like, I don't know, the direction, the camera work. I don't know why this had to be this bad as it was. There's just like times where there's nothing happening, and then when something happens, it doesn't make any sense. These girls just, okay, the way they introduced Slenderman in this thing is completely like lazy. Like, you can tell they didn't care when they did this part, because so they find out about Slenderman over these these guys, and they're gonna do the Slenderman game. Do you know what the Slenderman game is, Ryan? Because I don't know. I don't think this is a real thing. I think that the movie just made this up.
To be honest with you, I have no idea what the Slenderman game is.
Okay, well, this was the Slenderman game. Apparently, you go online, you look up a random video, and it's like The Ring. Boom, you watch the video. Boom, you're cursed. Boom, Slenderman's gonna get you now. And I don't know. This was like trying to cram so much different movie genres and different of horror, and not to mention, I feel like they were inspired, but at the same time they were just like, write that part, remember in It, the missing children, just do that. Or, hey, remember the video, if you watch it you die in like a couple days, yeah, do that. And then, hey, and then there's this random thing where it's like, hey, how we can have Skype on a phone? Yes. I want you to record someone who is watching Skype and watching someone go through their house from another phone. It's just so jarring. Like, what is this? And the CGI is terrible. The budget on this was 10 to 28 million. Half of it probably went to advertising. Half of it, like the rest of it, I don't know where it went. This is just, it looks ugly. I think even in the previews you could see how disgusting this looks. I don't know. Like,
it sounds like a movie of photo bombs.
Yeah, and all you needed to do was put a guy in a morph suit. Do you see, like, because you see in those Halloween stores, they have the faceless morph masks.
Yeah.
You know, the whole the full body morph suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they needed. You know, that would have been scarier than whatever the hell they came out of the fucking trees. You know, it looked really bad. Really bad. And then everything else about the cinematography that I talked about in the first 5 minutes, it was gone after that. It was just boring, bleak. Everything had to look like it was like grayscaled, and everything looked like it was just it was trying to be an old time movie, but at the same time it was in modern times. So it was just like, what am I watching, dude? This doesn't make any sense. They're in this hospital where there's, it looks like Arkham Asylum out in there, and I'm like, this is like illegal. Why is this happening in this hospital? I know it's a backwater town, but there is, I don't think that they would be doing this at this point, with these, like, with the people they have in this unit, and it's ridiculous. The rules don't make sense. Like, halfway through they figure out, oh well, we got to give up something that we love, so Slenderman stops chasing us. They do that, it doesn't work, and then for some reason one of the girls decides, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice somebody else's sister, and Slenderman will leave me alone. And I don't know, this movie, it wasn't funny, it wasn't exciting, it wasn't interesting. This is garbage, bottom of the barrel horror movie, and it deserves a 1 star. Don't even waste your time. Don't even watch it on DVD.
1 star.
It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not cutting edge. And Sylvain White, I think you need to wait another 10 years before you can make a movie again, because this is going to be your worst one yet, So, yeah. So tell me about the better movie, Black Klansman. What's going on with that?
Oh my god. So, Black Klansman. Director, Spike Lee. This guy is close to... I want to say this movie should be up for an Oscar. I won't lie. That's how good this was. It had it was one of those films that didn't hold its punches. When it came to racism, it hit the nail right on the hammer, or the hammer right on the nail. I think I said that backwards. Either way, it was a great film. When it came to costumes, everybody did look like they were from the 70s, including the what's the word I'm looking for? Even the KKK members out of the hoods. Like, they made sure they dressed them as if the 70s were almost out, because it was definitely 77 through almost 79, I believe. That's when the actual story actually happened. Like, it wasn't deep in the 70s as much as they tried to make it seem like. Like, this wasn't like a 71 type of thing. It was definitely 77, and then right through 79 is when when the investigation started taking place. It's based on a real story. The real Ron Stallworth was very impressed with the acting of John Washington and and the way he portrayed him in the movie. He felt like he did a great job. And I must say, John Washington, if you don't know about the guy, go watch him on Ballers. He stars along Dwayne Johnson. If anything, he's probably I would give him definitely, since he's not Dwayne Johnson, he's the next best thing for Dwayne Johnson. Like, if there's an episode of Ballers that doesn't have Dwayne Johnson in it, he's obviously taking the lead role. I like the movie because obviously it does touch on race, but it touches on more than just race. Like, the way the language barrier works, it's between, like, obviously you have the language barrier, and that's what I want to talk about real quick. Okay. Language barrier, it talks about how black people view the police. Like, they don't call them the police in the movie, or they don't call them a cop in the movie. They call them a pig, and that reflects on today's modern time. how like everybody views the police. Oh, don't trust 50 or don't trust 12 as everybody else knows the police as today. And then obviously you have the direct racism of African Americans versus white people. The Caucasian community calls obviously the black people niggers, jigaboos, any racial term you can actually think of. So it gets hard when you watch that a little bit, but honestly, I think that's what makes the film in itself. That's what makes it a blockbuster. If it's hard to watch, but at the end of the movie you enjoy it, then you have a pretty decent film right there.
Okay, all right. I'm getting like kind of what do you call it? Django Unchained vibes. Would you say it's a movie? It's a good movie to match up with that? You know, it did show like uncomfortable racism and scenes like that. So would you say that this is kind of like Django Unchained?
I'd like to say that Django Unchained was probably a little bit more milder because they actually did heavy on the N word. Yeah. Like, I don't think people actually understand sometimes a different word other than the N word can actually be more offensive.
All right.
Like, for instance, in this movie they referred to African Americans as the Black Beast.
Oh shit.
Which
that's
is
really fucked up.
which is really hard to listen to when you hear that.
Yeah.
And then obviously I don't think anybody wants their mixed son or their fully blood black son to be called a pickaninny.
Jesus.
Yeah, like I know it's hard to hear, and like at any other podcast would bleep those words out, but that's definitely what you're gonna hear when you go see the movie.
All right, Ryan. Well, just give me your final thoughts, man. Really sell this movie, man.
Final thoughts. This is definitely a 4.5 star movie with a 5 star
story. Why you gotta do the halves, man? I swear to God, you are really fucking with our editing.
Oh, I know. I'm that type of guy, and I want to say it was a 4.5 star movie because of the way it ended, and I don't like to give away endings.
Of course.
So I don't want to give away the ending, but
what are your
definitely
final thoughts overall, man. Come on, really sell it.
Final thoughts. It was a great movie. Go see it. Definitely, I would go see it a second time.